was our local, and people used to meet up here on a Tuesday at the Pied Bull. But it's all changed now, coming to a hotel now. So the laws have been changed now, so the gay people can stay in a hotel.
What made somewhere like the Pied Bull safe to be gay?
No, it was a safer environment because
for one, the landlord knew you were gay.
Yeah,
and having a landlord who knew you were gay usually helped if any trouble started.
Yeah.
Because he was more liable to throw the troublemaker out.
Yeah, it's a safer environment
for the gays to go out.
Instead of meeting somebody on the street and you know, not knowing anything about them.
Didn't have WhatsApp then and Facebook. So you had to meet out in the street, you see.
Yeah.
Or in pubs.
But it was a safe environment for people to meet.
Safety in numbers.
And get to know each other. Mind you, some people only wanted to know them for one night. Sorry, love. Yeah.
They still do, but we don't know them.
Sure. Alright, go on to the next one. Save your battery.
So if the Dublin packet was known as a...
through here now.
Oh, sure.
Gay friendly, I think would be the term.
So if it was once known as a gay friendly pub, then were there any issues with sort of it being watched by the police and that kind of thing?
Yes, there were. The places were raided. Places were raided and people were taken back. I've got a tale to tell on a club that we were in when it was raided. But I'll leave that for later now.
This has got bad connotations for Peter and I, because this is the spot where after leaving Oliver's we were attacked by two chaps that came out of the doorway over there. One jumped on Peter's back, the other got a knife and put it in my throat. Peter managed to get back to Oliver's and they started shouting, but I took off and ran home. But it was here. This wasn't here then. Just a wall. That's the only time I've ever been attacked. The entrance to Oliver's was like that.
This is the site where Oliver's was. Unfortunately, it seems to have been pulled down. I'm not quite sure whether this could have been it.
That was the taxi rank.
That was the taxi rank, and Oliver's was on top of the taxi rank. And of course, we had to look out to see if there were any strangers in the road who were out to get us. Usually, we were able to get a taxi inside to go straight home. But more often than not, there were people out waiting, banging on the door, shouting, having a go at us being gay. You know, the homophobic crowd. And a lot of Irish bombardiers who were stationed here wrecked cars all along here. Turned the cars over, believing that they all belonged to the gay community. Of course they didn't, because the gay community in those days couldn't afford to buy cars. In actual fact, they couldn't afford anything because they weren't really able to work. And it's true.
You would knock at the door.
Knock at the door. Yeah.
And it would open.
Yeah.
And an eye would see.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Peter, Mike, come on in. And then he'd go.
Yeah.
You're all right to go now if you go in. And then in. And when he came out, he'd say, hang on, and the doorman would come out and he'd look up and down the street and he'd say, there's a couple of chaps hanging, so we go that way round home. But
it's changed a lot. Happy taxis have still got this.
I can't believe.
Yeah, it's all changed now.
Used to throw water out of the windows onto the squaddies that used to be waiting.
And the funny thing was, when he went in the toilet, well, all the water that you possessed usually went downstairs into the taxi, on top of the cars in the taxi.
There was a hole in the toilets. You could see straight
Just
through
the
to the taxi below.
You could see all the bloody...
You could shout for a taxi while you were having a wee. Taxi out the front in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They used to call it the handbag club.
Yeah, the police used to call it the handbag club.
We
got anyway. I've got to go back to what I previously said half an hour ago. We were raided by the police, and they had us all stood up against the wall, and they wanted to know our names and addresses. And one person shouted out, David, his name was, said, "Don't give the police your names and addresses, because they'll go to your houses, get you the telephone numbers, everything that you've got after raiding your house, and then there'll be other people implicated." So none of us gave the police our names and addresses. No one was arrested, the police left. And that's what happened in the 80s. What was that? When did that happen now? That'd be around about 1984, 83, 84 that happened when we were raided by the police. So as recently as that time, people were being put in prison for nothing at all, and having the houses raided, the homes raided, and then the police would go on to the next person that they found telephone numbers and everything else. And that's how the police operated in those days. Thankfully nowadays they haven't got just cause to do that, because the laws have now been changed.
Once when we complained to the police about some harassment that'd been shown to us, we were told, well, we'd chosen that lifestyle,
Yeah.
so we must put up with any after effects of our decision to live like that.
We're going to discuss it now.
Different now, mind you, isn't it? One hopes. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's Gay Chester, really.
Yeah, that's Gay Chester.